Okay, as you can see, this is the F-16 versus M2000C Fox 2 fight. And right off the bat, I will say that I pretty much have to have labels on when I'm doing these kinds of fights. I hate using labels, and um, I just it's so hard and frustrating to fly DCS without labels on sometimes. I mean, if I'm doing just ground attack, I will often turn labels off, even if there are SAMs in the area, because I usually you have a pretty good indication. Not always. I don't in my own missions. I don't put a lot of man pads in because those are hard to detect. But anyway, in especially Fox 2 fights, I I try to not use labels, but I almost always have to. So today is no exception. I use labels. Um, in this particular case, in most cases when I'm fighting a missile fight, any kind of missile fight, I do some early cranking and I try to gain altitude over my opponent. Basically, I want to drag the missile up to make it lose altitude, and then in certain situations, I want to drag it back down. Or, sorry, let me back up. I want to drag it up to make it increase altitude, lose energy, and then drag it back down if I can to get it into thicker air, depending on the situation. But essentially, right from the start, I punch it and start climbing and cranking at the same time. And then I cranked a little harder here. I didn't feel like I was beaming or even close to beaming like I should have. So I turned a little harder and then turned back to try to get eyes on the target. Now here, um, like when you're within 5 miles, I think, of another jet, you really need to have your eyes on it. That's going to be further against something like the Thunder or a Tomcat or something like that. To try to see, although the Tomcat, you may not ever even have a chance to see a Phoenix come off the rail. But anyway, you need to be seeing it. These missiles are really hard to see, and again, like I'm using labels, so it's a little bit easier. But we are at, I think, about 3 3/4 miles whenever this missile comes off the rail. So I'm going to watch this missile come in. We're going to slow it down a little bit. And so here I am dragging it up, and then I pulled my throttle back. This is IR missiles, so I want to reduce my heat signature as much as possible and start popping countermeasures pretty fast and then maneuver really hard. So you can see I'm bleeding off energy really quickly, but I'm still going up and I'm kind of rolling over the top. Now, I don't know if this is the best necessarily the best option for that, but it's kind of what seems to be working for me is stay as fast as you can, drag the missile up into the air whenever you see it launching, or maybe not right when you see it launching, but whenever it's you think you've bled some of the energy off of it. That's when I try to start really maneuvering hard, but you have to have the energy there before you can maneuver that hard, because you see I bled off a lot of energy, and then pop chaff and flares. Now, chaff or flares, depending on the situation. Now, in this particular case, I'm not necessarily beaming the missile. I try not to waste countermeasures unless I'm beaming, but whenever I go to maneuver really hard, I don't see any point in not popping countermeasures to try to get it to bite one of those. So it bit here. Now I'm trying to get my nose back on this target to get a missile off, or not necessarily my nose, but just trying to get the helmet mounted cueing system set up to where I can start to where I can get a missile launch on this guy. So we're under 2 miles, I think, if my math is correct there. Launch that at him. And now he's coming straight at it. He's popping some flares. I can't remember now. It's been a while since it's been a couple hours since I flew the mission. Okay, so that's a hit. There, he wasn't maneuvering very hard, and let's back this up a little bit. He's got some energy there, so it's something he could do if he wanted, but he's just not maneuvering very hard. So I think really what he needed to do was cut pretty hard to try to get as close to a beam aspect on the missile as he could, and pop the countermeasures the whole time. Anyway. This is against the Thunder. I'm going to do the exact same thing. You'll notice that this guy launches at, oh whoops, I got the missile. There we go. This guy launches at 9 miles, 9.5 miles almost. Now I don't know, maybe these PL5, maybe these communist AIM-9s have the insane range, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to be honest, I feel like, I may have said this in previous videos, I feel like the JF got buffed quite a bit in an update not too long ago. It got insanely difficult to beat with anything. This thing, the SD-10 missiles are pretty radical. And I don't know, I've read that they're pretty good in real life, so that's not necessarily a problem. But this thing maneuvers like crazy. It gains energy really fast. It loses it slower than I feel like it should for the maneuvers that it's doing. It's gunnery. The Ace level AI's gunnery is like, it'll spit out like maybe 10 bullets and hit you with almost all of them, just in really awkward snapshots too. So it's gotten difficult, and I don't necessarily mind it getting difficult, but it just feels like it's not that realistic. Anyway, I don't know. Like I said, maybe this missile really does have insane range and tracking abilities, but I had a really difficult time not getting killed by 10-mile PL5E2 shots. So anyway, same strategy though. Climb in full burner, get as much energy as possible, drag the missile up, and in this particular case, it got spoofed by one of my first chaffs or flares, and I'm rolling over the top. Got decent energy, and then as I come over, I get this guy locked up and fire my AIM-9 at 3 miles, which my understanding is that's a bit of a long shot for an AIM-9, but whenever you're closing at this rate, it's not that big of a deal. It's actually a fine shot. So that misses. So it gets spoofed. Again, he's flying almost directly at me, so I'm not sure that I buy the spoofing, but he did start maneuvering there at the end. And it's a hot aspect, so the missile can't necessarily see the Jeff's engines there, so you know that's probably fairly legit. But made him turn a little bit, and I've got another missile off because the helmet-mounted queuing system and the AIM-9Xs are pretty awesome. So in my experience, if you can get past that first long shot missile, you're pretty good. In the video, like, I followed him down and shot him again because I hate the Jeff so much. Like, I like it as an aircraft, kind of, but I just hate fighting it. And then I saw this missile coming down, and I'm so like nervous about the Jeff and its weapons that I wasn't sure that this thing wasn't going to start tracking me again. So I just tried to keep an eye on it. And of course, it had gone ballistic and dumb and crashed, so it's no big deal. But I think the takeaways for me in this video are I'm not good enough yet to turn the labels off. You've really got to be on your toes to try to make sure that you're in a position to get out of the way of those first missiles, and even then you've just got to have the experience to time it right, I guess. If you can't see the dot that is the missile, if you can't see the missile, you're gonna have to have a lot of experience to time it right, and it's just going to take a long time to get that kind of experience, it seems like, for me. So those are the big takeaways for me. And in a one-on-one fight, I feel like both the Hornet and the F-16 have some really big advantages that they can use, but you have to be able to get away from that first missile to employ those, it seems like. Of course, you could do a really long range first shot and just hope that you push the Bandit side to side a little bit, make them displace and turn away from you to gain an advantage. And of course, this is all with Fox 2 missiles only. This is not trying to employ radar missiles at all, which kind of changes the fight a little bit. So I don't know, there's some things to learn here, some things I can work on, but anyway, that's about it. So with that, I definitely appreciate it. Hope it was enjoyable, and thanks for watching.